In this video, I basically want to give you a short, brief intro. I'm doing a little series of videos where I'm introducing certain branches of philosophy. In this video, I want to briefly introduce the branch of philosophy called epistemology, or theory of knowledge. Basically, this is a main branch, and it's highly connected to philosophy of science, philosophy of language, and metaphysics, and a little bit ethics as well. And basically what this is philosophy about what we know, what knowledge is, what belief is, what justification is, and what the structure of knowledge and justification is, and how we come towards knowledge. Plato had a epistemology. It goes back all the way to ancient philosophy. And then Descartes had one, Hume had one, Leibniz had one. They all have some kind of epistemology built into their philosophy. But basically, what I'm considering is what I'm trying to introduce is the epistemology, which is going from the early 20th century and onward until present day. And I plan on this summer doing a good amount of videos on certain articles that go from logical positivism until things past Edmund Gettier. And basically, the logical positivists started we had G.E. Moore and Bertrand Russell, who had some articles which kind of spurred some of the stuff that the logical positivists dealt with, and that question really is, how can, I guess, first of all, what is the foundation of our knowledge? Like, what thing do we use to found or to ground our knowledge for other things? G.E. Moore and Bertrand Russell, they kind of had this thing that they called sense data, which was like if I'm looking at this cup, I see a certain patch of blue, yellow, red, etc., a certain color, size, and shape. I'm not thinking of it as a cup. I'm thinking about it as a patch of this, and that, of a certain sizes, colors, and shapes. And the question is, it's also a linguistic turn, in that we're going from a language of things down to a language of sense data, or of things that we're seeing, and how do we go from that to build up knowledge about other things as well? How do we build up from sense data and the language of that stuff, and move up towards language about things, and finally language about physics and scientific and mathematical matters. And the logical positivists, kind of centered around Ernst Mach and Ludwig Wittgenstein. Mach was kind of like he was kind of actually in it, but Wittgenstein was like the guy that they centered themselves around. You had Rudolf Carnap, Moritz Schlick, and various other thinkers. It started with the Vienna Circle, which was against metaphysics and theology, and moved towards things that we can verify within experience. And we had on epistemology and a philosophy of science, because all those articles from that time was about figuring out what we can use as our foundation of knowledge, and moving upward from that to figure out how we can get knowledge of other things. And that's basically what epistemology from the 60s and 70s to today is also about. What is the structure of justification? Now, justification is the fact that, to put it very briefly, is just that, I'm holding the belief that I have reasons to hold. I have reasons to hold, and um, it's not violating. You know, it's not violating logic, or it's not violating common sense. And if you want to be normative about it, you can, like Lawrence Bonner, you can be like, well, it's not violating an epistemic duty, which is basically a similar thing in that you're not violating your duty to be epistemically responsible and epistemically rational. And epistemology, was changing from, we had Carnap, we had Otto Neurath, Moritz Schlick, then we had Quine and Ayer, and these people, until Edmund Gettier, who wrote this little paper which is called What is Justified True Belief, where, the typical thing before him was like, well, we all agree to the fact that justified true belief is knowledge. If I have a belief that is justified and happens to be true, then I must have knowledge. But he created a few cases in a two-page paper, which showed that we can have justification and truth, but not really have knowledge. And then, from there we had the question of, whether foundationalism is the correct structure, which basically that is, I'm going to try and draw a diagram to show this if I can. Okay, we have this. These are foundational basic beliefs which don't need justification. They are justified in themselves and don't need any other beliefs to justify them, because typically you think that you need to have we also have the problem of the epistemic regress problem, which says that if I have a belief and I want it to be justified, then I need to have a meta-belief to do that, and thus my meta-belief must be justified by a meta-belief, and so on it goes into infinity. So they solved the problem and then they also have different ways in which they solve the Gettier problem, which I won't talk about here. These are foundational basic beliefs. There can either be one or there can be more than one, but they all have to be justified in themselves, and then you can build upon those beliefs that are justified by these or this belief. That's foundationalism. Next we have this little circle here, which would be called coherentism, and there's many objections against it, which says that we don't need a foundational belief to solve the regress problem. We just need a coherent system of beliefs that justify each other by virtue of their relations, and that's something I could talk about for a while. And then here's a relatively new theory is this, which is called infinitism, which basically accepts the regress. And there's a paper by Peter Klein which talks about that really, really well. And then we have theories of internalism and externalism, which internalism says that we have cognitive access to our justification of our beliefs, or we have privileged access, or we have current mental events which justify our beliefs. And there's externalism, which says that we don't really have this privileged cognitive access to our justification, and our beliefs are justified if we form them with appropriate causal connections via Alvin Goldman, or via reliable processes, and that's from Yeah, that's also from Alvin Goldman at a later time. And that's like a big picture kind of thing. We're talking about the structure of knowledge and of justification, and we're trying to figure out how we can, like, what is the structure and the model of how we move towards more knowledge about the world around us. And that's basically the big picture kind of thing. A couple good books that I think are good for this thing, for this kind of branch of philosophy, is this book. It's a Blackwell anthology of epistemology. Has a lot of good articles in it, including Goldman and Gettier and Quine and Moore and all that stuff. Another one is this one, which is not mine, but it's a library book, Empirical Knowledge, edited by Moser. Also has some really good things in it. And there's a couple other books that I have on it, which are on my Kindle app on my iPad. But those are a couple really really good ones. And if you just get some, anthologies from your library or buy it, it's just really good to read that. Then you can kind of get a feel for where all this is going. If I missed anything, and if you think I've missed a couple things that should be needed in a brief intro, comment, and I would like to discuss this with you if you want to as well.